Hello and welcome to what could either be a very long or a very short video. I have no script for this, just wanted to talk a little bit about stuff that's gone on in 2019, a bit of stuff in 2018 and 2017 as well, because it all kind of ties into some of what I want to talk about, but also some of the plans for the channel and even some stuff about my personal life plans going into 2020. But yeah, so first off, I just want to thank everyone who's stuck with the channel through 2019. The channels have grown significantly since the start of the year, counting between Datapad and Corey Loses. I think we started the year around 13,000 subscribers on Corey Loses, and now we're at almost 20,000. We're like 400 away from being at 20,000 subscribers on Corey Loses and Corey's Datapad in the first 9 months that it's been around now. I think I started it in March. Is up to like 15,000 subscribers. So I'm glad people seem to have been enjoying what I've been doing this year with both channels, and hope to continue that into 2020. But I feel like both channels, or Corey Loses especially, I'm still trying to figure out some stuff with Datapad, like finding a good release cadence for videos and the editing and everything. It's very different from what I do here. It's so for those of you who aren't familiar with my Datapad channel, it's basically a lore video channel focusing on Star Wars. I might mix in some other stuff in the future, but basically quick videos about topics within Star Wars Legends and some Star Wars canon as well. But yeah, so there's still some video styles that I wanna do for Datapad that I haven't yet. That you can see just right there. There's all the names of stuff and links and stuff. But yeah, so I've been really happy with how that's grown in its first year, and I owe a lot of that, as well as the growth of Loses here, to Eckhart's Ladder, who I've worked a lot with this year and I really enjoy working with, and he's just been super great about like helping get more exposure to not just my channels, but also Thrawn's Revenge and Part War Expanded now. So all of us on the team really appreciate that, and also me personally for the channel stuff. And like we started TapCap Transmissions, our podcast this year, and that's been going really well. So a lot of good things that have come out of this year, especially like in the last month. Both channels have really gone better than any previous month on the channel. Like Datapad probably did better than any previous month on Corey Loses ever has, or close to, and Corey Loses has done at least twice as good as any previous month, maybe 3 times as good as any previous month by like any given metric. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the amount of attention that Star Wars stuff is getting right now, between the release of The Mandalorian, Rise of Skywalker, we had Fallen Order come out. But even on, like, I've seen some of the metrics that some other channel, like December's always a really good month for YouTube, if you've ever heard any YouTuber talk about it. But like even comparing like my December boosts in previous years to what's been going on this month, it's been just incredible, and hopefully something that will stick around to some extent. Like you expect a bit of a fall off, but I really hoped to be able to maintain some of that momentum going into the next year. And I've been trying to think about like what's worked about what I've done in the last month or so compared to the rest of the year. And I do think that in the early parts of the year, I wasn't great with how I was structuring series. And other little stuff like thumbnails have definitely helped in the last month or so, where I think the style of thumbnail we're going with now is much better. I don't know what the thumbnail is going to look like for this video, though. So that's kind of ironic, I guess. But yeah, so the first parts of the year, I was mostly just doing Empire at War series, but they were very long, very spread out. Like it would be 4 months for one series, and they were fairly niche, like playing some of the more niche factions in Thrawn's Revenge. So like the CSA playthrough was 4 or 5 months, I want to say, or probably just 3. But like the viewership over the course of a series like that will always fall off, and because that was like the only big series I was doing at any given time, it would mean that there were fewer people around for the for the next series when it started. Fall of the Republic obviously had a significant boost when those videos came out, especially when Shaq and I did the skirmish matches in like May or June or something. But I wasn't good at maintaining that stuff throughout the year. And I think I have a better idea of how to structure stuff now. Like for most of the year, I was doing a lot of streaming on Twitch, trying to record that and put that up, like cutting it into episodes for YouTube. And for the most part, I think that was a bad idea. Like there are still some cases where I think that works. Like I'm only going to do that with one Empire War series at a time, as far as that goes, and there'll be some streams that I do on Twitch. But for a lot of games, there was like Breath of the Wild, Fire Emblem that I started streaming on Twitch, tried to cut up into episodes to put on YouTube, and then they just didn't. They weren't sustainable as a YouTube series. But even if I just do that stuff and I stream it on YouTube, I found that works so much better. You get the initial stream out of that, and then you don't have to worry about like them taking up a video day that could go to something else. So like it was for a good part of the year, what I have considered a good day for the channel would be like 3,000 views between all the videos, and then for a new video, at least like 500 views would be really nice. If it's not Empire, like really nice if it's not Empire at War. If it is Empire at War, like 1,000 views. And like the stuff we've been doing recently, even the non-Empire War stuff, has generally outstripped that significantly. And especially doing it as a live stream, that has some other benefits, because YouTube is a lot better at pushing live streams and just general growth of a channel a lot better than Twitch. On Twitch, getting discovered is very difficult unless you're like specifically looking for something. Like I've always found it to be kind of hard to take advantage of that properly. So it's good for some stuff where I'm like redirecting the existing audience to that, and it's something that shouldn't really be on the YouTube channel. There are a few things like if I start streaming Rocksmith, I'll probably do it that way, do it on Twitch, but we'll see what that would end up looking like. But yeah, the other thing that really impacted this year, which if you were around towards the end of last year, you probably know about. If you just came to the channels in this year, I talk about it a bit, but I haven't really done any major channel updates like this, so all year I don't think. So I wouldn't have had as many places where I talked about it. But when I started doing the channel full time, towards the end of 2016, early 2017, my mom had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. So the way I was using the channel, or what I was doing with the channel as far as it being a job went, was like it was just a way that I was like, as much like I enjoyed doing the channel and I was doing it as a hobby beforehand, but as far as me treating it as a full-time job, it was a thing where, okay, I can do this. I moved down to stay with my parents after she got diagnosed, so my dad could go to work and then I would be staying in the apartment, just spending time with my mom, making sure that she was all right. And so this was something that I could do on my own time from within the apartment. And my plan was basically, okay, I don't really expect anything to come out of it, but for the meantime, it was a good, like, it was just a way for me to make some amount of money to support myself while I was helping to look after my mom. And like the big thing was spending time with her, because we thought, especially early 2017, she wasn't sure if she'd do chemotherapy, and our expectation was that she would probably not last more than a couple weeks or months. But I was down there. I lived there from January 2017 to I moved back to Ottawa, which is where I live now. I'm from Niagara Falls. That's where my family lives. But I moved back to Ottawa last summer, so like July 1st, I think it was, actually Canada Day. And so I was basically by that point thinking like, okay, this is probably not sustainable for the long term, so I really need to get a different job. I turned down a few interviews when I moved down to Niagara initially, because I wasn't going to be able to do like a commute between Niagara and Ottawa. So I figured I need to be back in Ottawa so I can at least look for a job, because it was only sustainable for so long. and while I was able to keep this going, I'd be able to go back and visit my family as much as possible. Unfortunately, a few months after I moved back, her like she did end up doing chemotherapy for a year and a half, but it stopped working. Like you can usually only stay on any given treatment for so long before it stops being as effective, or the side effects from the chemo kind of outstrip what the cancer it's doing. Uh, so in she died in October, and I spent kind of the last part of 2018 just kind of coasting, just dealing with all the fallout from that. But it was the same kind of thing going into 2019 where I wasn't sure what sort of mileage the channel would have. And I was thinking, like, am I going to be able to just do this until I find a job? Should I start looking for a job? But as we got towards the second half of the year, things started to pick back up with the channel, and it started to seem more reasonable that I could stick with this long term, and especially if stuff kind of maintains how it's been for the last month at least, or goes like even performs like 60% as well as it has for the last month for the rest of the year. I'd consider that successful. Like ideally, I'd want it to grow a bit more, but like I'm fairly comfortable with what's gone on this year, and I think I've gotten out of the just maintaining mindset, because like when I was living with my parents, there was not a lot of like long-term planning that I could do or wanted to do, because it was just like, okay, this is what I'm doing for now, and I'll do this as long as I need to do this. But it was impossible to know like when I'd be moving, when I'd be leaving, how long my mom would live. So it was just kind of a thing where it was both depressing and next to impossible to do any sort of long-term planning. Like I thought about like going back to school for something like computer science related or programming, or even going back for my master's degree in poli-sci or history. But all of that was like kind of potential future stuff, because like what's my financial situation going to be when I'm done, or like when I've moved? How long is the channel going to last, because it can just drop off the face of the earth at any second. But that kind of influenced a lot of my thinking going into this year, where I was on the one hand not handling the way I was structuring the content as well, but I was also trying to find ways that I could make it more sustainable. So like a channel that's built just around being that guy who mods and plays Empire at War, you never know what the audience for that is going to be for the long term. And that was kind of part of the impetus between starting Corey's Datapad, where on the one hand, it was just I wanted to do that kind of video, because I really like doing that kind of research. I enjoyed writing history essays and stuff, and I thought it would be fun to kind of just do the Star Wars version of that, and see what the audience was for that. Because like it was something that Eckhart's Ladder also really encouraged me to do. Like I spoke to him a little bit about it beforehand, and he was like, "Yeah, you should definitely do that." So I did that. He was like great at helping me promote that. And like I think I put up a poll a few months ago, and like 70% of the people who are on that channel aren't subscribed to this channel and don't even necessarily know what it is. So it is nice to, as much as I'd like to have like as much interplay between them as possible, it is nice to have that other thing where it's like, okay, so I can do this beyond just being that one guy who does one thing. And part of that has to come from like me getting better at the other parts of the job, so that it's not just like people are coming to watch Thrawn's Revenge preview stuff. And I think I've improved a bit just in my ability to commentate on videos, to edit through stuff with Datapad, how I structure not just the way the series are done, but also stuff within the individual videos. So I think all that has gotten a lot better over the last year, and that's stuff that I'm going to keep working on going into this year. But yeah, so I'll probably try to get to the last few points here in the next minute or so. Probably not a minute, but the way I want to try to do as much of what I've been doing for the last month going into next year, or this year now, where I'm probably going to do a lot more streaming. That's definitely one of my goals, but a lot more streaming on the YouTube channel as well. Something I really want to get in the habit of is if there's a game I want to play, rather than just like stressing over where I can fit it in on the stream schedule. Do I need to have like a fixed stream schedule? I'm just going to do it. Like I'll just throw up the stream. I'll do it. I won't worry about whether there's been a video that day or not. Just play the damn game. Like I want to do that with Halo a lot more because I really love playing Halo. I want to finish the Knights of the Old Republic stuff. I'm going to do those as streams. Stuff like RimWorld, which I've always wanted to find ways to fit in on the channel, but I've never been able to. Star Wars Rebellion, where I'll be able to just do that. If it works, it works, and then eventually maybe I'll be able to do like regular video series on it. I can do more sins that way. And I think that's a good way to get the content in without having to worry about like, oh, I need to do this as a stream first on Twitch, then I'll edit it down, then I'll find where I can post it, and then it's been like 2 weeks and people have already seen the video because they watched it on Twitch. Like I do like having that interaction, and with the Empire War series, I generally prefer to have them as like a couple times a week videos. So like with the Empire of the Hand series, we are streaming that on Twitch and recording it, and I think that's been working because we also have the Fall of the Republic series coming out, where it's recorded offline. But I think that structure's worked. That's what I want to keep doing with streams. The other thing is I haven't been able to stream on weekends much this year, which are usually the best days to do streaming on. But the other good thing that's happened to me this year, I'm trying not to get too much into other personal life stuff, but I started dating my girlfriend in January. So for weekends, I've mostly just been like taking them off work between Friday night and Sunday morning. I just spend time with her. We'll go see friends and stuff and try to disengage from work as much as possible because it's really easy to burn out. It's not like it's a difficult job or something. It's the most fun job I could possibly ask for. But it is something where like if you're going to record or if you're going to stream or whatever, you need to be on. So there is a certain degree of emotional labor in that, where it's easy to like, as much fun as I have playing Empire at War and other games, if you're doing it all the time nonstop and then you stop playing the game, you go to work on the game, and then you're playing the game again and recording the game, especially if you've been dealing with like a particularly hard to find bug or something, you're just frustrated. It's definitely been helpful to disengage in that way. But our plan is to move in together in the summer when she's done school and starts working. So I'm going to be moving out of my cockroach infested hellhole of an apartment, which is also now a moldy hellhole because of bad maintenance in other ways. But hopefully by the summer we'll be able to find a place that's slightly better than this. And that's one of the things that I'm kind of hoping the channel continues to grow for, because I basically live in the cheapest place possible, and it would be nice to be able to just not have all my cupboards empty because I'm afraid that cockroaches are going to start living in my pots and pans. But yeah, so once we live together, I'll probably do a bit more weekend streaming because throughout the week we'll spend more time together. But I still am making sure that I'm going to take at least one day entirely off per week. But yeah, so I think that kind of covers everything. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone who has supported the channels, the mods throughout the year, especially people who are channel members, patrons, Twitch subs. If you'd like to become any one of those things, that is the biggest chunk of what makes it possible for me to do this financially. Ad revenue is usually like a third of my overall income. So for those who do that, thank you very much. For those who can't, totally understand. For those who don't want to, totally understand. But hope you've still enjoyed it. It's probably been on in the background. A lot of people like do dishes or laundry or something. So yeah, good job on your housework, everyone. Same time next year.